Welcome to My Irish Radio Music and Culture News, your connection to everything happening in the world of Irish music and culture. I'm Jamie Flanagan. Each episode will share the latest news from Ireland's vibrant music scene, from traditional and folk to rebel ballads, pub tunes, Celtic rock, and today's top Irish pop. We'll also bring you updates on festivals, cultural events, and people keeping Irish heritage alive around the world. And remember, My Irish Radio is more than just a station. It's your community, your soundtrack, your voice. You can listen 24/7 at myirishradio.com and through the links in the podcast description below. Here's the best part. You can be part of it. Host your very own show on My Irish Radio. Choose your playlist, share your stories, make My Irish Radio your Irish Radio. Let's get into what's happening this week in Irish music and culture.
Imagine a sports curse so deep, so historically entrenched, that generations of fans genuinely believe, that supernatural forces are actively keeping them from winning.
Oh, it becomes a literal mythology.
Right, exactly. Now, imagine that curse breaking in the exact same week that a 75-year-old political boundary is just shattered by 800,000 people playing traditional music in the streets.
It's just an incredible convergence of events.
Our mission today is to dig through this really fascinating stack of local reports we just got from My Irish Radio, and we're looking at a single, frankly bizarre week in Irish sports, music, and culture.
Yeah, it really is one of those weeks where history doesn't just, creak forward. It absolutely snaps.
Yeah.
We're looking at a moment where multiple boundaries that have stood firm for 3/4 of a century basically collapsed almost simultaneously. So my goal today is to help you see the hidden connective tissue between, a legendary sports victory, these massive cultural festivals, and a very gritty new literary voice that's suddenly turning heads globally.
And it's not just a coincidence of timing either. Okay, let's unpack this by starting with the most emotional barrier that was broken, because we are talking about a sporting drought that has quite literally haunted generations.
Haunted is definitely the right word for it.
If you follow sports, you know the psychological weight of a curse. For you listening, think about the Boston Red Sox and the curse of the Bambino, or the Chicago Cubs.
Right, the Billy Goat curse.
Exactly. Decade after decade, no matter how talented the roster is, some invisible force just seems to pull the rug out from under them at the last possible second. And in the All-Ireland Senior Football Championship, that has been the Mayo curse since 1951.
Which is just an incredible amount of baggage to carry onto a pitch. I mean, for 75 years, the narrative around the Mayo team was entirely defined by this bizarre inevitability of failure.
Yeah, they were destined to lose.
Exactly. They would regularly get to the absolute brink of claiming the Sam Maguire Cup. And then tragedy, weird tactical errors, or just sheer suffocating pressure would cause a collapse. It becomes this self-fulfilling prophecy.
Right, but not this time. Mayo finally ended that 75-year drought, and they defeated the reigning champions, Kerry, at Croke Park. But the reports from My Irish Radio detail this game flow, and it's wild because it felt like the curse was actively trying to reassert itself in the first half.
Oh, absolutely. It looked grim early on.
Yeah. Kerry, who are known as the Kingdom, which, that tells you everything you need to know about their pedigree. They came out swinging. By the 15th minute, David Clifford finds the net for a goal, giving Kerry this massive early cushion. Okay, wait. The final score is listed as 120 to 117. For those of us who didn't grow up playing Gaelic football, walk us through this.
Sure, it can look a bit confusing at first glance.
How does a team mathematically and, I guess, psychologically recover from a quote-unquote goal early on? What do these numbers actually mean in practice?
That's a really crucial detail, actually, because the scoring system in Gaelic football dictates the entire psychological momentum of the game. So you have two ways to score.
Okay.
If you kick the ball over the crossbar, you get a point. But if you put it under the crossbar, into the net, past the goalkeeper, that's a goal. And a goal is worth 3 points.
Oh, wow. Okay,
Yeah.
so the huge swing.
Exactly. The score format reads goals hyphen points.
Yeah.
So Kerry's early surge wasn't just a slight edge. That 15th minute goal by David Clifford effectively put Kerry up by 7 total points very early in the match.
Yeah.
In a high-stakes final, a 7-point deficit is an absolute mountain to climb.
Most teams would just fold. You're playing the reigning champions. You're down by 7. And the universe is practically screaming, here we go again. The curse is real. How do you not just collapse in that moment?
Well, what's fascinating here is the absolute refusal to accept that historical narrative. You're basically looking at the anatomy of sheer resilience.
Yeah.
Under the direction of manager Andy Moran, Mayo didn't try to win those 7 points back in a single desperate play, because desperation is usually what kills teams in that position.
They just force it and make mistakes.
Exactly. Instead, they aggressively but methodically chipped away at the lead. They even missed some early chances, which normally would have rattled a cursed team, but they stayed entirely present. By halftime, they had whittled Kerry's lead down to just a single point.
Which completely resets the psychology of the stadium. I mean, the fans suddenly realize, wait, we aren't dead yet. And that paved the way for the second half. Shortly after the break, Dara Burns slots home a crucial goal for Mayo, so that's a massive 3-point swing, and it fuels this run that actually puts Mayo up by 5 points.
Right, they just took control.
But Kerry doesn't just roll over, right? Late in the game, Potty and David Clifford are pushing hard, they secure points, and suddenly Kerry is within 2.
And that late-game push by Kerry is exactly the scenario where Mayo has historically crumbled.
Yeah.
I mean, that's where the ghosts usually show up. But this time, Captain Jack Coyne leads an absolutely heroic defensive display in the closing minutes. They hold firm, they weather that final storm, and they win by 3 points, 120 to 117. It was basically an exorcism on the pitch.
What a way to put it.
And, you know, you have forward Ryan O'Donoghue walking away with both Man of the Match and Player of the Season honors, which just proves that this wasn't a fluke. It was true dominance.
It is an incredible shift, and the radio reports actually give us a great contrast to show just how rare this kind of disruption is.
Oh, the hurling final, right?
Yeah. They mentioned the hurling All-Ireland final that took place earlier in July, where Limerick beat Galway 129 to 118. So Limerick retained their dominant hold on the Liam McCarthy Cup. But wait, why doesn't Limerick have this kind of historical baggage?
Well, because Limerick is the entrenched dynasty right now. They represent the status quo of modern hurling. Their victory shows you just how incredibly difficult it is to knock a dominant force off its pedestal in the GAA. Entrenched power usually wins. That's just the baseline reality of sports, which is why Mayo shattering a 75-year ceiling against a powerhouse like Kerry isn't just a win, it is a total rewrite of the cultural script.
And when that final whistle blew for Mayo, you could literally feel the release of 75 years of psychological pressure.
Without a doubt.
But physical civic spaces hold pressure too. Which brings us to a piece of beautiful synchronicity in these reports. The number 75 isn't just lucky for Mayo, because moving from the pitch to the streets, another 75-year barrier is falling, this time in the heart of Belfast.
Yeah, the release of tension in Belfast is just as palpable, but it's operating on a completely different civic level.
So Belfast is hosting the Fleadh Cheoil na hÉireann for its historic first time. And for those unfamiliar, it is the world's largest celebration of traditional Irish music, song, and dance.
It is massive.
The scale of this is just mind-boggling. We are talking about drawing over 800,000 visitors. Imagine an entire major city transforming into one massive, vibrating instrument.
That's quite an image.
And the milestone here is that, for the first time in 75 years, the festival events will cross the front gates of Belfast City Hall.
You're listening to My Irish Music and Culture News, brought to you by My Irish Radio, streaming the best in Irish and Celtic music all day, every day. From classic jigs and reels to the latest Irish rock and pub favorites, we celebrate the sound of Ireland worldwide. Want to be more than a listener? Be a host. Share your love for the Irish music by hosting your own show on My Irish Radio. It's easy to get started. Just send us an email, myirishradio@gmail.com. Don't forget, you can listen 24/7 at myirishradio.com. Make My Irish Radio your Irish Radio.
Now, I have to challenge this a bit.
Okay, go ahead.
Look, 800,000 people is a massive crowd, but isn't this really just a giant street party? Like, does moving a music stage in front of a specific building actually change anything historically? Or is it just a great logistical win for the local tourism board?
Well, if we connect this to the bigger picture, you realize it is far more than just a street party.
Yeah.
I mean, Belfast is a city with a deeply complex, historically divided geography.
Right.
For decades, specific spaces, streets, and buildings were implicitly or explicitly designated for one community or the other. So Belfast City Hall isn't just a municipal building. It has historically been a highly contested symbol of political power and identity.
So crossing those gates physically means something.
Exactly. For a traditional Irish music festival of this magnitude to physically cross those front gates for the first time in 75 years, I mean, it is a profound reclamation of shared civic space. It's using culture to physically redefine who belongs where in a city that used to use walls to keep people apart. Traditional music is literally serving as the mechanism to break down a boundary that has stood for 3/4 of a century.
Here's where it gets really interesting, because the reports detail that it isn't even just the Fleadh happening in isolation. It's a total unprecedented cultural saturation.
Oh yeah, the whole city is involved.
Right. You have Belfast TradFest, which just wrapped its massive run with over 1,000 artists performing across 40 different venues. You have Féile and a Phobail running alongside it. The entire city is drenched in this shared experience. And the Irish language broadcaster TG4 is doing 4 nights of live broadcasts right from the new Fleadh Village and Waterfront Hall. They are broadcasting this boundary-breaking moment to the entire world.
Which is vital because when you broadcast it, you legitimize the new normal.
Yeah, that makes sense.
You're showing the world, and more importantly, the next generation of locals, that this space belongs to everyone now. The cultural disruption is perfectly mirroring the sporting disruption.
It's an overwhelming amount of traditional culture. But that leads us into the next major insight from these radio reports. Because this massive trad music takeover in Belfast isn't happening in a vacuum, right?
Right, it's just one piece of the puzzle.
Exactly. It is actually just the anchor of a much larger, booming music ecosystem across the whole island. So what does this all mean for the modern Irish music scene? Because the diversity here is wild.
It really is.
We have traditional fiddles crossing the gates of Belfast City Hall, but then the reports also highlight American country superstar Luke Combs packing out Slane Castle. And he's bringing out local internet sensations like Garen Nooney and massive stars like Dermot Kennedy for cameos. How does an American country star packing a castle fit into a week of deep Irish cultural revival?
Well, it fits perfectly because it shows a lack of cultural insecurity.
Okay, what do you mean by that?
Think about it. Slane Castle is a legendary outdoor venue. Historically, it's where absolute titans of rock play, Queen, U2, the Rolling Stones. The fact that this scene is evolving to host a massive commercial country juggernaut like Luke Combs, and that he is sharing that historic stage with local Irish talent, tells you something important.
Which is?
A truly healthy, thriving culture does 3 things simultaneously, and we are seeing all 3 in these reports.
Okay, what are the 3 things?
First, it confidently hosts massive global acts without feeling threatened or losing its own identity. That's Combs at Slane Castle. Second, it honors its deep roots with genuine reverence. And third, it actively builds infrastructure to fund its own future.
I see that in the reports. For honoring the past, they mention the indie folk rock group Kingfish prepping a cover of The Sunny Side of the Street for an upcoming Shane MacGowan tribute album. So there's that reverence for the rebellious, legendary roots.
Exactly. And for funding the future, the reports confirm that Irish Music Month is returning this September, driven by Hot Press and the Independent Broadcasters of Ireland.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, they are bringing back a new local hero talent search. This isn't just about patting themselves on the back for the music they already have. It's a deliberate structural pipeline to ensure that the teenager playing guitar in their bedroom today has a platform tomorrow.
Right.
When a culture is hitting all 3 of those marks, reverence for the past, global integration in the present, and structural investment in the future, you are looking at a true cultural renaissance.
Which is an amazing transition to the final piece of the puzzle from this momentous week, because let's step away from the noise for a second. We've been talking about massive, explosive, communal celebrations.
Right, very loud events.
Super loud. 82,000 screaming fans in Croke Park. 800,000 people vibrating in the streets of Belfast. 80,000 fans packed into Slane Castle. But this same disruptive Irish cultural force is making global waves in a much quieter, far more solitary medium.
Yeah.
Literature.
The written word.
Yeah. A debut Irish author named John L. White has just secured a spot on the prestigious 2026 Booker Prize longlist. The novel that got him recognized is called All Them Dogs, and it is distinctly described as a gritty gangland story.
Right.
But I really have to push back here. Going from this joyful, massive, traditional celebration of ancient music in Belfast to a singular, gritty, urban gangland novel making a global elite literary list, I mean, it feels jarring. Why does this belong in the same conversation about cultural triumph? It feels like a completely different world.
It does feel jarring, but this raises an important question about how we, and honestly the rest of the world, actually perceive cultural exports.
Yeah.
It challenges you as the listener to broaden your definition of what modern identity really looks like.
Okay, fair.
It is incredibly easy to fall into the trap of romanticizing a country's culture. We want the postcard version, right? The ancient GA sports, the traditional fiddles, the rolling green hills, the poetic folklore. But a living culture isn't a museum exhibit. It is also its raw, complicated, contemporary reality.
So the grit is just as authentic as the fiddles.
Arguably more so for a large portion of the population. Jamel White securing a Booker Prize longlist nomination for a gangland novel proved that modern Irish identity isn't just one nostalgic note.
Right.
It is complex, it is increasingly urban, and it is sometimes dark, violent, and solitary. The fact that a raw, contemporary story like All Them Dogs can command the attention of the global literary elite proves that the culture is expanding its vocabulary. It simply refuses to just play the hits for the tourists.
It really is that same disruptive energy we've seen all week, just channeled into a completely different medium.
Exactly.
I mean, Mayo disrupted a 75-year curse on the pitch, refusing to accept the narrative that they were born to lose. The Fleadh disrupted a 75-year civic boundary in Belfast, refusing to accept that certain city streets were off limits. And Jamel White is disrupting the literary scene by putting a spotlight on a gritty reality that doesn't fit the traditional postcard image, but demands to be seen anyway.
The through line here is undeniable. It's all about a society that is actively participating in reshaping its own history, rather than just inheriting it.
So, bringing this all together for you listening, this deep dive into a single week of local reports shows us the mechanics of a truly dynamic culture. It is never an either-or situation.
No, never.
A society can fiercely protect and celebrate its deep traditions like the magic of the GAA and the ancient communal rhythms of trad music while completely reinventing its future. It reinvents itself by breaking those 75-year droughts, by ignoring the ghosts of the past, and by elevating completely diverse, gritty new authors who tell the unflinching truth about today.
It just proves that history isn't this slow creeping glacier that we are helpless to stop.
Right.
Sometimes, with enough resilience, enough shared purpose, or even just enough music, you can force the ice to crack.
And it leaves me with a thought I want you to mull over as you go about the rest of your day. We've seen a 75-year sporting curse broken on a football pitch through sheer, stubborn resilience and a total refusal to panic. We've seen a 75-year civic boundary crossed at Belfast City Hall through the unifying, undeniable physical power of music. So what long-standing barrier or curse in your own life or in your own community might just be waiting for a sudden shift in mindset to finally fall?
That's it for this episode of My Irish Radio, Music and Culture News. Thanks for joining us. And remember, you can hear the best in Irish and Celtic music 24 hours a day at myirishradio.com. If you ever dreamed of sharing your favorite tunes and stories, now's your chance. Become one of the hosts. Host your own show right here on My Irish Radio. Just send us an email. It's easy as that. myirishradio@gmail.com. Until next time, it's Jamie Flanagan. Keep the music playing and keep Ireland in your heart.